Welcome back to the IOM World Championships. We've got one of the British contenders here and who's been sailing quite well, actually, Nigel Barrow. Nigel, number one, thanks for coming all this way. I think you've been enjoying it.
It's been a pleasure. I've been here for over a week, and Gladstone's a fantastic place. The race organisation, people have heard it before, is just amazing. Probably unique to all the previous events. So yeah, fantastic.
Great. I know you're a bit of a student of tuning. We've seen you down here nearly every day, and it's a 2.5k walk from where you've been staying. And luckily, some of the Gladstone locals have been picking you up every first or second time. But we wanted to talk to you a little bit about tuning. And could we start off with the twist? We noticed yesterday that there were a lot of boats that had various amounts of twist in their jib boom. Tell us a bit about how you use that twist in the jib.
Yeah, so these are sailboat RC sails, and they're a little different to seam sails because they can carry the fullness right up into the top of the jib. And what's been interesting with this is I use a lot more twist, possibly 1 to 2 centimetres more than seam sails that I've used previously. So I start by setting up the twist on the jib, and then the mast, if it's light and soft, I try and keep it reasonably straight, because when you're going downwind, if you have a gooseneck that's set up with a couple of bits of tape at the bottom of the gooseneck to rake it back, what happens as the boom goes out is the kicker tightens slightly. And if you've got mast bend, you need to put a bit more kicker on to control the leach. So when the boom goes out, the kicker tightens even more, and in light soft weather the boom doesn't go out all the way. So you straighten the mast, ease the kicker a little bit, and then you can operate in soft conditions. And when the wind's up, you get enough twist in the mainsail, and the mast is straight and holds up, and it all works for you. So I start with the twist on the jib, and then I use the twist on the main to balance the boat. So you set it up, put it on the water, check it's balanced. If it isn't, tighten the kicker or loosen it off to get the boat sailing upwind.
I notice you have an adjustable forestay at the top of the rig there. Are you changing your rake throughout the wind ranges?
So the main use I find for the jib, once I've set the rake up, as the wind comes up, if the leach starts opening up on the jib excessively, then I tend to tighten the jib luff by 2 to 5 millimetres, and that will tighten the leach of the jib. Brad Gibson told me this. I was sailing at West Kirby, and he was watching me sailing, and he said, your jib leach is too open. And he did some tweaks on the rig, but one of the things I noticed he did was tighten the bowsy at the top of the jib, and that will just firm up the leach.
So tell us, when you're sailing the boat and the boat's going through the water, what are you looking for?
Primarily I want a boat that will sail itself, so I don't have to tweak it. But when I am tweaking the rudder, I'm trying to bring the boat away from the wind to keep the speed up to a maximum. What I'm really looking for are wind shifts. So I remember reading an article. It said you had to have 3 thoughts when you're racing. Where are you in relation to the fleet? Where are you in relation to the wind? And where are you in relation to the course? And if you can keep those 3 things going through your head, that's really all you need to worry about. Here, with shortish beats, my priority is to try and get to the right-hand side of the fleet, unless there's a massive left-hand shift. But if you get to the right-hand side of the fleet, you're on starboard when you come across. You have control.
Are you changing the way you're sailing the boat upwind from a high mode to a go mode to a low mode at all?
Yeah, I have a high mode. I rarely use it, but when I sheet in with a toggle, I just slam it over to the left, and it brings the main sheet in by an extra centimetre. Some people use switches to do the same thing, but I like to have the toggle because I can adjust how much high mode I use.
And when you're on the start line, is who you're lining up next to important to you?
Well, in the first race...
Did you want to talk about that yesterday event?
Yeah. Well, I lined up next to Zonko, at the port end of the line.
Okay.
And we were both quite close to the buoy end, and the wind headed.
Yeah.
So neither of us.
So
could
we were,
cross the
just
line.
for the audience, we're in the top bit of the A-rig wind range, weren't we?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you sheet on, you go sideways before you go forwards.
Yeah. So I hit the mark, Zonko hit the mark, and that was a bit of a shame. But in the first race, I lined up at the windward end of the line, just to leeward of the gaggle of boats that were fighting for the pin end, because you don't want to get in a crowd. I then got off the line. There was a bit of a barney with a few boats to weather, which meant when I tacked, there was only one stern I had to duck, and then I was free on the right-hand side.
Yeah,
And the
nice
wind
work.
shifted right, and I, popped round the windward mark.
Well, fantastic. I think you're doing very, very well at the moment. I know that you're pretty keen to get up into that top fleet, but from even just the small time that we've met each other and had some time together, it's wonderful having you and the British team here for the World Championships. But thanks for joining us.
Brilliant, thank you.